Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and I'm going to tell you in this video why certain supplements might actually be worse for you than junk food, okay, or candy or whatever. Insert stuff that's bad for you here, smoking, whatever, okay? Certain supplements, for whatever reason, are able to slip through the regulations, at least in the West, and well, not to mention other parts of the world, but some of these ingredients that are allowed to slip through are so problematic. And this is not just stuff you see from the offshore brands. This is from big baller top brands that are putting in these kryptonite ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to explain to you, because I have, a few years of working in nutrition and with supplements, and I know I've learned quite a bit about all the stuff you want to avoid. And basically, there's always supplements in the background here. Realistically, anything I ever show you guys is because I believe that it's something that you should take, because it's something that I take myself, and I only use the best quality stuff. So I never will promote anything that is below that standard. And if I do ever show anything, I'll be sure to let you know if I believe it's up to that standard. Okay? So let's get into this video, and I'm going to break down 3 very, very popular supplements that you might have even used these 3, okay? And just show you all the crap that's in there. So, like I said, I'm going to break down 3 supplements that are very popular that you probably have even used. And, maybe I'm going to crop out the branding just so, there's no, legal disputes to be had with this, that I'm not slandering any sort of brand here. But I'm going to crop that part out and basically just show you the ingredient labels. If you're intuitive enough, if you've been around enough nutrition stores or supplement stores, or, if you've been enough places like that, you'll probably recognize these products, okay? But the first one is basically a hybrid pre-workout and BCA supplement, right? And right away, what I'm doing is, because I have the picture on my phone here, I'm going to bypass everything that's in this ingredient list and go to the non-medicinal ingredients, okay? And the reason why I'm doing this is because what I'm actually talking about here, the main ingredients of these products, like the different amino acids, aren't going to be problematic for you. The stuff that is going to be problematic for you is in the non-medicinal ingredients. So that's the basis of this entire video, and I'm going to teach you how to avoid these problematic ingredients. So right off the bat, the biggest things you're going to want to watch out for are certain sweeteners, fillers, and colorings, okay? So why do you want to avoid those things? Well, especially as far as certain artificial colorings go, a lot of them are chemically similar to estrogen. Like, they're literally almost near identical to estrogen, and they function in your body in an estrogenic manner. This is a very well-studied area, and for some reason, the FDA and other bodies are still allowing these ingredients to slip through into products, mostly because a lot of the studies on these, problematic ingredients, there's just no funding there, because it's a cheap avenue for certain companies to use these ingredients. And, if there's no problem, if it ain't broke, they won't fix it. If there's not going to be any funding for, estrogenic ingredients and endocrine disrupting ingredients until somebody gets a serious health problem from it. That's really where we're going to start seeing some change of these things. And little side note here, a lot of this as well is from these hydrogenated oils that I'm going to show you in another product momentarily. But those are in almost every food item that's processed nowadays, especially in the West. So I'm in Canada, but we still get a lot of those. And, if you're in the UK, if you're in the States, if you're in certain parts of Europe, lots of processed food use these hydrogenated oils. But stay with me here, okay? So let's break down this product, okay? The ingredients: citric acid, malic acid, flavor, ambiguous, inulin, which is a prebiotic, oligosaccharide, beet juice concentrate, that's not bad for a coloring, tartaric acid, silicon dioxide, calcium silicate, gum blend, which is cellulose gum, xanthan gum. Some people will be critical of that, carrageenan, some people will be critical of that. But here's where things start to get very problematic, and this is more common: sucralose, sulfate, and potassium. and lecithin. So it's probably a soy lecithin, but sucralose, sulfate, potassium. This is right off the bat 2 of the artificial sweeteners I've criticized in my artificial sweetener video. So sucralose has only been around for, a couple decades, right? Same with Ace K. But that's another reason why we don't have any, ban on these ingredients, because they've only been around for such a short period of time that there haven't been any long-term studies on these things. And sucralose is very similar to pesticide in its chemical structure. And Ace K has been shown to almost be, I believe it was carcinogenic in rats. So watch my artificial sweetener video, that will break down a lot of the scientific background for this. But here's my general rule of thumb when it comes to sucralose and Ace K. I know I still consume some products here and there that have it, and I'm not worried about that. Getting a lower sugar ketchup with 4 milligrams of sucralose isn't something I'm gonna, cry about at night. But most of the ingredients and most of the supplements we have today are just jam-packed with sucralose. And I've spoke to doctors who do x-rays on people's, thoracic cavities and whatnot, and there is just sucralose in people's gut, because a certain part of sucralose stays in your stomach. And when we don't really know what it actually does in there, but we do know that it's chemically similar to a pesticide and that it can deplete your good bacteria without affecting your bad bacteria in your gut. And also, if it's heated, that's an even bigger problem, because it can turn into something called chloropropanols, which is basically a very toxic chemical that you're putting in your body when you heat sucralose beyond a certain point. So anything that's like a food substitute that's been heated and has sucralose, beware. That's more so where we're getting problematic. Besides just downing in Monster Energy with 100 and something milligrams of sucralose. Not something you should do every day, but can you live your life and have a little bit in moderation? Sure. And I'd certainly take some supplements that do have a small bit of it, but I try to avoid it, okay? Now, here's where things get really messed up, okay? I was going to curse there. I was going to say this would get really fucked up, but it is fucked up, okay? Yellow dye number 5, yellow number 6, maltodextrin, modified food starch, propylene glycol, dextrin, which is more sugar, gum arabic ascorbic acid. So here's the big problem here, okay? The big problem, as far as most people and what you should be concerned with, is right off the bat, we have 2 yellow dyes. Now, yellow dyes are actually very similar to estrogen. If you're a man or a woman, you don't want to be messing with your hormone balance, because these ingredients, although they're, not shown to have any immediate problems, messing with your hormonal balance can affect even your grandkids, okay? And there's entire books on this. I've read one called Estrogeneration by Dr. Anthony J. It's a fantastic book, and I recommend it all the time when I'm talking about these sort of endocrine disruptors, okay? And here's where things actually get even more messed up, okay? Maltodextrin, sugar, obviously they put in a little bit of sugar to make the food taste better, make the supplement taste better. That's not the scary part, right? Because a lot of things can do this, but it's just more of a cheap tactic. It's just you had to do that too. But modified food starch and propylene glycol. So propylene glycol is in some processed foods, but this is actually a preservative, okay? And modified food starch, this is the sneakiest move that actually pisses me off when I see it from this huge brand, okay? Modified food starch is generally always code for MSG. So MSG, which is also in my artificial sweeteners video, is monosodium glutamate. And what MSG does is that it tricks your brain into firing more glutamate. Glutamate's an excitatory neurotransmitter, and MSG is what's called an excitatory neurotoxin, because it basically messes with your brain's ability to get excited by things and makes whatever food that contains MSG taste unreal, right? You could put MSG in a pile of shit and it'll taste good to you, okay?
Eat a brownie that tastes like literal shit, or eat a literal shit that tastes like the best brownie you've ever had in your entire life.
I'd eat the shit.
I would. Oh God.
I'd be laughing at you. I'd be eating this shit like, how's that fucking brownie taste, bro?
I'd be laughing at you.
And you'd be like, no kidding, how's that shit taste? And I'd be like, unreal. What? It tastes like everything you were hoping for.
Basically, when you have foods that don't contain MSG, you won't get as much excitement from them, okay? So this is a huge problem, and modified food starch is always code for MSG, especially in the context of a supplement, because in a supplement, there's really no reason for MSG to be there, okay? And the reason why they wouldn't just say MSG, you're probably thinking, oh, why didn't they just write MSG? Is because when it's below 70% MSG, they don't actually have to list it on the food label. They can just say modified food starch, spice extractives, things like that, okay? So that's just one of these products down, okay? Now I'm gonna get to, I'll just show you another one here that has, another very popular BCA product, has a sulfate potassium sucralose, FD&C Red Lake number 40. Red 40 is hugely estrogenic. There's great, popular work that's coming out about it that realistically it shouldn't be in anything. And it's in things like Gatorade. It's in lots of things, any sort of candies. Like, here's the thing. Although sugar being added in excess to your supplements isn't a good idea, it's certainly far less problematic than, sugar with estrogenic compounds, okay? So that's another reason why it actually could be worse than junk food, because if you're having these foods with sugar, the same amounts of sugar, the same amount of high, brain stimulating sugars, like high fructose corn syrup, which I'm going to get to in a moment, you're getting way more problems than simply eating a chocolate bar would, assuming that chocolate bar didn't have, Red Lake number 40, yellow number 5, okay? Propylene glycol, all the other BS in there, okay? If it was just chocolate, cocoa, milk, sugar, butter, that would actually be far less problematic for you than any of these products. Now, here's the last one. This one is the biggest one, and I'm so disappointed in this one, and it also pisses me off because there's a lot of people who are, very well known in this industry that represent this brand, but they're probably not even aware of how troublesome these ingredients are. So this product is a protein product, and right off the bat, if you're somebody who has proteins regularly, whey proteins, or sort of protein complexes, you'll notice that macro wise this is actually pretty mediocre. 25 grams of protein, 7 carb, 3 fat. Realistically, the ratio of the whole scoop is like 2-to-1 of protein to other macros. So realistically, a third of the powder you're paying for isn't even protein, but that's more of just a practical and, critique of the product itself. Now, a couple of good things in here. There are like some digestive enzymes. Realistically, they got bromelain and they got two proteases, which is good because I was going to say if there's no protein enzyme here, that'd be pretty redundant. And they also have a lactase enzyme. So that's pretty good, right? But here's where all the good gets undone. Now, keep in mind, whatever brand this is that shall remain nameless for its own protection, or for my own protection, maybe, but no, for their own protection, because this is what's in their product, and I'm just calling it as it is. I'm not saying anything in addition besides the ingredients they've already listed. There's my legality background there. But essentially, everything that's in here, this product is a dessert protein. That's what it is. It's a once-in-a-while protein, and when you see the ingredients, you'll understand why. So, unbleached enriched flour, so wheat flour, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine mononitrate. Okay, basically, flour has very little purpose in a protein product unless we're talking about affecting the taste. Now, I've talked to you about the bliss point before, where there's a certain combination of fats, sugars, and salt that you can add into a product to make it taste good. And, of course, this product is a chocolate chip, as you can see in the description, so it's going to be a dessert protein. That's fine. I have no problem with, presenting something as what it is, but I do have a problem when you're presenting it as something that it's not, as saying, oh, it's the best protein out there, but realistically on paper, it's not. And it has a lot of problematic ingredients. Let's get into them. Sugar, chocolate, dextrose, cocoa butter, milk, soy lecithin. Okay, not really a problem for the dextrose. That's to be expected. The sugar, these are high-speed digesting sugars. They are going to raise your blood sugar and give you a very high reward response to this protein. Is that the most problematic component of this? No, not yet. What I'm very pissed off about is the soybean oil and the partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil. Okay, so we have essentially, and the high fructose corn syrup, and what else we got here? Okay, and there's still a little bit of sucralose. So even after all the sugar, even after all the high fructose corn syrup, they still have to have this sort of bliss point. They combine the fats, especially these hydrogenated oils. Soybean oil is one of the as much as you might not have, want to pass this off as a myth, soy is a highly estrogenic bean, okay? And in excess, it can definitely have estrogenic properties, and there's very well-documented evidence of this, okay? Now, do I cry and stay up at night when I have a little bit of soy lecithin in a product? No, okay? Especially because soy lecithin is an emulsifier for some of these ingredients. It's typically not in high doses. But keep in mind, 95% of the world's soy is GMO, genetically modified. So chances are very high that this product is not made with non-GMO soy. And we have soybean oil, which is just the pure oil, and any plant or seed oil is always going to come out as hydrogenated. It's never going to make it into a product and not be exposed to high temperatures. This is where the problems come, because it comes as a result from oxidizing these fats. The best way to cause inflammation in your body, especially in the cardiovascular system, is oxidized fats. Okay, I'll say that again. Literally, the number one killer in, most of the world, heart disease, and inflammation in the cardiovascular system is caused by oxidized fats. Now, a lot of times, natural fats will get the blame for this, right? Because the animal fats that are produced in the industrial food system is not much better. But when you have regular, non-processed fats or grass-fed butter or something like this, right? I had, plenty of experiences where people will have the switch to a grass-fed or pasture-raised fat source and have way better results. But the thing is, what we can say with definitive confidence is that these oxidized, hydrogenated oils are definitely problematic, and we will see plenty more research on this, but they're everywhere. They're rampant. They're the most consumed oil in the West, okay? And it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden heart disease is on the rise, okay? Bottom line, just avoid these processed oils. They are literally the number one. If you cut those out, that is going to be the easiest way to immediately notice a huge benefit in your overall health. I promise you this. If you cut out all hydrogenated oils from all your food, you will find way better health in a matter of weeks, okay? So cut those out, okay? Especially soybean oil and partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil. It literally has to say hydrogenated. I'm pretty sure if they didn't have to say partially hydrogenated, like if they didn't have to say hydrogenated, they wouldn't. They would have just said cottonseed oil, okay? There's a certain point where they have to list it, okay? So salt, molasses, okay, caramel color, which is probably code for another artificial sweetener, natural and artificial flavor. Don't know what that one's going to be. It's ambiguous, but I don't have enough context to kind of discern what it would be. But then they still have sucralose. Okay, it's not enough that there's, high fructose corn syrup, dextrose. Was there maltodextrin in there? Wheat flour, sugar, and these seed hydrogenated oils. They still have to have sucralose. So realistically, like I said, sucralose in small doses probably isn't the worst for you. And I have plenty of stuff that does have bits of sucralose. But, on the whole, try to avoid it, okay? And when we're looking at the context of this protein powder, it probably looks a lot less appealing to you if you're somebody who knows this brand, okay? And, this brand is just, everything is listed there. It's not like they're being dishonest. It's simply that the regulations do not require these brands to say when they have artificial colors, to say what problems those might entail, okay? There's no restriction on, banning their usage is what I'm getting at. Certain parts of Europe probably have some of these things banned, but overall, avoid these things, okay? These are not things that you should be consuming, and if you do consume them, you will be having a reaction in your body that is going to have more inflammation and oxidative stress than any junk food can actually cause you. Unless, of course, the junk food has all these artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners, hydrogenated oils, and excitatory neurotoxins in there that are designed to keep you addicted to a food, okay? So that would be the point where I'd close off the video, but I want to add one more thing because I forgot to say it with that other product here. High fructose corn syrup is often thrown into protein powders and other things like this in very small doses. And the reason why they do this is this brand, make no mistake, when they're looking at the amount of sugar they can put into their product, they're thinking, okay, we can keep the sugar low, but if we just put 2 or 3 grams of high fructose corn syrup, people will find the taste better. Fructose, which is the sugar from fruit, is the sweetest tasting sugar of all the types of sugar. And it has the highest reward response in the brain. So when you consume these things, it makes the food addictive in addition to these other ingredients we saw in other products like modified food starch, aka MSG. So, bottom line, avoid these things. These things can be worse than candy, and get products that don't have these ingredients. It's not that hard. Get products with, it's not the amino acids, it's not the L-tyrosines in a pre-workout. It's not any of those things that are going to be causing you the problem. It's essentially the supplementary ingredients of the supplement. that are going to be causing the problem. So get clean products and always go through the descriptions, because I always give my recommendations as to what products are the cleanest and best options for you. So check that out if you want some more recommendations, and let me know what other products or topics you want me to cover, and go to my website romanoketo.com for coaching and products that are going to be out very soon. Peace.